Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to be looking at animating basic movements in Procreate. This is a very beginner level animations video and we're just using a very basic shape to do this. It's just a circle. But I'm going to show you how to do different things. So first we're going to learn how to do flashing or blinking or appearing and disappearing, however you want to say that. We're also going to look at 2D motion. So what I mean by that is moving horizontally along the screen or vertically or diagonally, and not 3D in any way, not coming towards you or going away from you. Then we're going to look at doing an arc or moving along a circle and along a spiral. We're also going to look at rotating and how you would animate that, rotating or spinning or however you want to say that. Then the last thing we're going to look at in this video is growing and shrinking. So those are the things we're going to look at in this video, but first, a real quick intro for those of you who are new to the channel. Hello, I'm Shannon, owner of Shrush Design. I specialize in hand-lettered and illustrated designs for things like signage, murals, invitations and other stationery, digital graphics, and more. Here on YouTube, I make tutorials of how to do these projects, my methods, the tools I use, and the software I use on a regular basis. For anyone who may be interested, I now also have a free companion course to go along with these videos here on YouTube, where you can get access to additional notes, any digital downloads you may need, extra practice, and the direction of where to go once you master the tutorial. You can find that link down in the description, or just go to my website, www.shrushdesign.com, and look for the online courses section. Okay, let's get on with the tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to open a new canvas. I'm going to hit this plus in the right hand corner in your gallery. And I'm going to select the square option here. It should be already on there for you. If it's not, you can make a custom canvas right here with this plus sign. Just make it 2048 by 2048 pixels and an RGB canvas. Any of them will do. So I'm going to use that. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate these basic actions you can animate on Procreate now. I'm going to use a very simple shape for these. I'm just going to make a circle. So the first thing I want to do is go into my actions menu in the wrench up here in the left corner. Go to canvas and then drawing guide. And then I'm going to edit my drawing guide. I'm going to make it just, I'm going to stretch it, the grid size all the way to the max, because that'll just give me those 4 squares. Hit done, and I'm going to actually pinch my canvas a little so I can see. Move it over. Now I'm using the calligraphy category, the monoline brush, and I'm just using a black color. So I'm just going to make a circle. I'm going to use the quick shape function. Just make a general circle and just hold it at the end. Now I didn't make a perfect circle, so it's an ellipse. I'm going to change that to a circle up here. And then I just want to make sure that this is in the center, so I'm going to move all these nodes over to make sure that they are on the lines. It's a little off center, that's why it's not working out. Careful not to stretch out the circle, because then it's not going to be a circle anymore. All right. Then I'm going to drag over my black color here and fill it in. And I'm going to make this a little smaller, actually. It's kind of big. I'm going to go to my transform tool here and just along the lines here, make it a little smaller. Keep those nodes on that guide like that. All right, that's good. So now I'm going to turn off my guide. I have this circle that we're going to animate in different ways. So, if you remember, if you watched, otherwise you should go back and watch, the Procreate for Beginners animations video that I just released before this. I went over basically how to do an animation, all the things you need to do. There's an animation assist function in here that we're going to use today. I'm just not going to go over it as in depth in this video as I did in that video, so you'll want to watch that. All right, so just a quick explanation. Animation's based on your layers over here. So right now we only have one, and then we have the background layer here that can only be a solid color. I'm not going to do anything fancy with the background this time. So we're just gonna leave this be the background. So I'm not gonna use the background feature in Animation Assist when we get there. At least not as the background. I'm actually gonna use it instead as a guide this time. I use the foreground, which is the top layer, as a guide in that last video that I mentioned. But you can also use the background. So I'm gonna show you how to do the background this time. As long as you're not using a background layer with something more complicated than a solid color. So that's your layers. So you go into, now go to the wrench again, the same canvas menu, sub menu here, and you get Animation Assist should be the second one down. And this thing pops up, so that's the Animation Assist. And this is representative of all your layers. Right now we only have one, other than that background, that doesn't count. So I'm going to need to add a frame here to make a background, and I'm gonna have to drag it to the left here. Now if I open this, you can see that that is now on the bottom. That's what would be my background if I was making a fancy background, but I'm not. In this case, I'm gonna use this as a guide. So before I do any of that though, I'm gonna actually, I just wanna show you that this is kind of how that goes. I'm gonna turn this off temporarily, Animation Assist. Go back, make sure I'm on the layer that is supposed to be my background, which I'm gonna make my guides on. And then I'm going to, I might actually wanna put my guide back on, my drawing guide. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so I'm going to just draw a horizontal line that is right on that guideline, and then I want to do a vertical one as well. Let's try it from down here. Now I can edit this, the magic of Procreate. Make sure it's right on there. All right, now I also want to do a diagonal one because we're going to do diagonal motion as well. So I'm just going to take corner to corner because it's square and I can do that. But of course you can do any path on here. You don't have to do the exact ones, but just for this example, that's what I'm doing. So that's going to be what turns out to be our guide. What I normally do when I'm using something as a guide or tracing, I go into layers here, and in fact, I'm going to name this just so I don't get it confused. That's my guide layer. I'm going to go to the N here, and I'm going to just drag the opacity slider down to like 30, that's fine. All right, so now we're ready for Animation Assist again. So I'm going to turn this off and turn this back on, turn the drawing guide off, the Animation Assist on. All right, so now we have these two layers. It's the circle layer, and you can see this in the background because that's set up with my onion skin here. I have it on max. I'm going to actually turn it down to 1 because that's all I'm going to need. All right, so I'm going to click on settings, make that go away again, and then this here is going to be my background. So I'm going to click on that frame and turn it into the background. So now that's going to be on there, not really permanently, but permanently as long as it's on within all the frames. So I'll be able to see it, and I don't have to worry about it like the onion skin moving it around or anything like that. That's why this is a good idea to do it this way. And again, if you were using something as your background, like a more complicated design, you'd be able to use your foreground for this if you wanted to, or there's another way to do it. I'm going to talk about that when we do something more complicated. But if you're going to be using both your background and your foreground and then animating something in the middle, but we're not doing either one this time, so I'm using the background. So anyway, as I said, we have this circle here, so we want to, in this first thing, we're doing flashing, blinking, or appearing, disappearing. So basically that means the circle is either on the screen or it's not, for it to flash and blink and appear and disappear. So we're going to alternate between having a circle there and having nothing there. So either up here or down here, you can add a new layer, and you would just add frame here, and it would add it right above that one here, or right next to it here, right to the right. Basically, we just want to alternate that over and over again. So you can either here, I'll show you how to do it both ways. You can duplicate it here, but then we're going to have to move this up over layer 3 here. That's what it's named as, so that we have it alternating. So here it's on, off, on. Now, if I wanted to do the same thing again for this, I can also do it here. I can hit here, click on this, duplicate, and then I can move it the same way, just move it next to it like that. So you can do it either way. Let's do it one more time. I'll just do it up here. Very quickly here. Okay, so now it's just gonna be on, off, on, off, on, off. And actually, I think I want it to start off, so I'm gonna move this last layer here down to the bottom, but not all the way. The bottom of this without the background. So that it's the second one here, not in front of the background. Not that you can do that anyway when this is on, so, but just in case. So now just to show you what this looks like, you can preview it here. So I'm gonna put it on loop for now, and I'm gonna reduce this because it's gonna be way too fast. I'm gonna take it down to 4, let's try that. Oh, wait, before we do that though, let me go back to this layer here, this background layer. I'm gonna turn it off, the background for now, and I'm gonna turn it off here. So I'm gonna go into my layers and turn it off here so it's not showing up. So now I'm gonna play, and you see it's just blinking. Just one frame on, one frame off. Now you can do more complicated things here. You can make it blink for a little longer and then not as long. And there are a couple ways to do that. You can either just duplicate this layer again. So this one's gonna blink a little longer than the other two. I'll just show you what that looks like. So you notice that one's blinking a little longer. Now another way to do that, and I went over this in my last video, you can actually click on this frame here that you want to just, as long as it's exactly the same, you can just hold it for however many frames you want. So if I hold it for 2 frames, it's going to be exactly the same as I showed before. We have, these are grayed out now, so they don't actually create a new layer, which is why that's great, rather than duplicating an exact the same layer right next to each other like that. So because if you're making a very complicated animation, you need lots and lots of layers. So this is a way that you can save them. So exact same result here. See? But that's a way that you can kind of do something more with blinking. And you can do that with the blank ones as well to make it a little longer before it blinks. I can show you how to do that. Let me just turn this off and then maybe turn this one on. Let's do that again. So oop, I went too far. Let's do 2. All right. So just to see how that looks, see that that blank spot is a little bit longer this time. So again, depending on what you're using this for, you may want to do that. Same concept, apply it to whatever you're doing, like a blinking light or something like that, or just words blinking on the screen or whatever you want. Now, turn this back off here. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. So we're going to talk about 2D motion, and what I mean by that is moving horizontally or vertically or diagonally, and that's why I made the guide that way. So we're not moving like 3D where I'm moving towards the camera or, you know, back away from the camera or anything else that's more 3D. We're just doing, you know, this isn't going to be growing in size anymore. It's just moving this way or moving this way. Like it's not moving in space in 3D. So that's what I mean by that. You can of course do that. We're not talking about that in this video, but you can do that if you want. But I'm going to now just get rid of some of these layers that I don't need anymore. So I'm gonna get rid of these blank ones for sure. And then I'm going to get rid of these as well. I'm gonna turn my guide back on, move it back to where I have just the one frame. Here, the one black circle and my guide. Then I'm gonna turn my guide back into a background. And then I'm going to just move that ever so slightly every time. So doing the same thing. Again, you can do it here, you can do it here. I'm gonna duplicate this. And then what I'm gonna do is transform that second one, move it over slightly. Now also, a good thing to have is have your snapping on here. And be under uniform, because in case you make any changes to the circle accidentally, you'll be able to snap it back to where it was rather easily, so it's the exact same size. So I'm going to take this over, not doing this scientifically or anything like that, about a quarter of the way through the circle. So about there, looks pretty good. Now I want to make sure I'm on that line where I'm supposed to be. Okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate. Now I'm going to move this one over. And I kind of glossed over this, but that grayed out one is the one before. So that's your onion skin on your animation assist. And if you want to see more, I have just the one now, but you can also put in like the next one if you want to see more. I'm going to keep it on one. Right. Do it again. Over. I'm going to move it all the way over there now. Okay. Now I'm going to keep going till I get to the end. I'll just speed this up. All right. It's a little off there, but that's fine. So, now just to show you, you can kind of see here, but it's going to go, you know, just back and forth right here along this line, and it's staying on the same. It's not moving up and down, it's moving just this way. And you can of course do both at the same time. Again, that's a little more complicated. We're just doing basic things today. So I'm gonna go here, turn off my background temporarily, and then turn it off here so it doesn't show up in the animation. And then I'm just gonna play this, see how it looks. Now because it's on loop in here, it goes all the way to the start. This would be a good one in this case to do ping pong. So it's gonna actually like bounce off that right wall there and bounce back because it's ping ponging through it. And now obviously you could go all the way this way as well. I didn't do that because I'm just doing very simply showing the concept today. But depending on what you wanted to do for your actual animation, you could, you know, move it all the way across if you wanted. You can move it all the way across the screen if you wanted, but we're not doing any of that today. All right, so now I'm going to put my guide back on, make that back into my background, and then I'm going to delete all of these layers. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but move it vertically. So I'm going to duplicate, transform, and then just move it along that line about a quarter of the way. Same thing. Do it one more time here. All right, now I'm going to speed up the rest of the process and you'll see. All right, so now, again, you can kind of preview here, but I'm going to turn this off and then turn it off here temporarily and then just play it through. Now it's just moving up and down, jumping up and down. Turn the guide back on, turn it back into my background. Now we're gonna do it diagonally, so I'm gonna get rid of all these again. Everyone but that last circle. And then we're just gonna move around the diagonal now. So, this one's gonna be a little more complicated, but here we go. So, here, and then I just wanna keep those two nodes there on the diagonals. Make sure those are on that line. And this one's kind of going off screen a little bit, but that's fine. Now, again, first I want to turn this off of background and then turn it off here. So now it's just going along that line diagonally. All right, so now I'm just gonna delete all that again. Now for this next one, I need a different kind of guide, so I'm going to just make another layer. So because I'm using a second guide, I'm going to make this one my foreground instead of my background. So I'm gonna move this one above layer 1 here. So this is gonna be guide 2, I guess. Let me just rename it guide 2. All right, so we're gonna be moving in a arc and we're gonna do a spiral as well. So I'm gonna make 2 separate ones. I'm just gonna make the arc first and then we'll do the spiral after that. Because I don't have like unlimited backgrounds and foregrounds I can use. For this one, I'm gonna put my guide back on, my drawing guide. Just so I have a little bit of a reference here. Now, also with the drawing guide, I'm actually going to edit it a little bit because I need a few more lines in here. I'm gonna take it to the point where that's pretty much on the edge there so that I have a little more lines. So that you have 4 by 4 on your guide. So I want this arc to go through the center point here. Actually, I think I want to change my guide a little bit so I can see it. So I'm going to use a different color. And then I'm going to also, I'm going to also reduce the opacity of this temporarily so that I can see through it. All right. For this guide, I want to make an arc and I want it to go through the center here. And I want it to start here. So what I'm gonna do is actually make a circle that's as big as this entire screen, or the canvas, not the screen. That's really bad. Thank God for Procreate. All right, turn this into a circle and make it so that the nodes, or at least the center, I don't need the nodes really this time, as long as the centers are all on, I mean the points where it touches is all on there. Now I'm going to take this, transform it, and bring it down. Now you see that that lines up in the center there, and this lines up on the center here, and this one does too. You can't see it, but which is exactly what I wanted. And it's okay that it's not completely filled in. That's because there was a little bit missing up there, but no big deal. All right, so now I'm gonna take the opacity back up on this one. And I'm gonna go back to Animation Assist now. Turn the drawing guide off. And now I'm gonna make this my foreground so that it shows up. Now I actually do wanna reduce the opacity a little bit so it doesn't distract so much. I'm on 40, it doesn't have to be exactly there, just wherever it feels good to you if you're following along. All right, so now we're gonna move this circle along the arc. So duplicate, just like last time, and now we're gonna move this so that the circle stays along the arc. This one's a little tougher because we don't have like all guidelines in here where we could bring it exactly along the arc. That gets a little more complicated, but we're just doing kind of simply here. So just keep moving it so that the center stays on that arc as much as you can tell. But just in general, it's going along that shape. So I'm gonna turn this off for now and then turn it off in here, just like I did with the background, and just show you what this looks like. And obviously, again, you could start all the way over here, which is a little more realistic. It's gonna, you know, like a ball that's thrown or something. But just to show you how to keep it along that path as well as you can. All right. So now the next thing, I'm going to take these layers and delete them. Now I'm going to change this guide a little bit. So this time I'm going to keep, I'm just going to clear this out. So now in this guide, I'm going to do something different. So I'm going to make a spiral shape. Now this one's going to be a little more freehand, but I'm going to put my guides back on here so I know where they are, the center is and everything. And then I'm going to draw a spiral shape. Oops, held it too long. Just a general spiral shape so that the circle is going to follow along there. And anyway, this is just an example. You can use any sort of path you want to make and just follow that circle along, or whatever object you're animating. So I'm going to turn this back into the foreground again. And I'm going to start moving this circle along the spiral here. So try to keep that center along the spiral shape. Just bring it over. You know, depends on how much you want to do it. About a quarter of the way. And then just keep going along that spiral line. Again, it's kind of hard to see, but if you imagine where the center of that circle is, try to get that on that spiral line. All right, so now I ran into a little bit of a problem because now this is off screen and it kind of cut off my shape, if you see here. So, and I'm gonna be moving it back into the center where it should be whole. So now what I have to do is actually take one of these other ones that are full and just duplicate that, but I'm gonna have to bring it up here and I'm gonna have to move it to, you see the onion skin down there is the one that was before it. I'm gonna have to move it down here. But you have to make sure that you put that where it's supposed to be in the layers or down here. So now I'm gonna keep moving on here. Still solid, it's good. think that one's gonna be a problem, so I'm gonna duplicate this one, move this over again. I don't wanna do that. This one should be here, and move it up, duplicate. Well, that one will be fine. Probably, because it has to come in a little more. Now I'm going to do this one again, duplicate, but move above this one, and then move it. So that's the next one in sequence. And then do another one where I have it solid, move it up, and then move it to the next one in sequence. All right. That's that. So I'm going to take this off now, off foreground, and I'm going to turn it off here, and then we'll see what this looks like. See, it's going in a spiral now. So that's that. All right, so I'm gonna delete all these extra layers, got a lot of them this time. All right, for this next one, I can use this guide again as my background, but in order to illustrate this, because I'm gonna do where it's spinning, I'm gonna need like another mark on here just so you can see what's going on. So I'm gonna go to my layer 1 here. I'm gonna use a white color instead. And I'm gonna just put this on one of the nodes over here. So I'm just gonna draw a white circle towards the edge, or ellipse or whatever. I'm gonna make it a circle real quick and then just kind of try to make it a little, and then fill it in. That's fine. All right. So now I'm gonna take honestly, I could probably use my drawing guide for this, but I'm gonna turn that off. So then I'm going to make this my background again. And I'm just gonna rotate. Now actually, what I wanna do, because I'm gonna rotate it by eighths, I'm going to go back here before I do that, and I'm gonna add another line to my guide. I need to go back to my black color. I'm on the guide layer. I'm gonna do corner to corner again. This is in the way, I'm gonna turn it off temporarily. All right, where am I? Okay, just wanna get corner to corner, that diagonal as well. Oops. It's not on the corner there. Okay. All right. Looks good. So now that's my new guide. I'm going to use that as my background. Turn the animation assist again, turn it to background. Now, I'm going to rotate this ball with a little notch out here. I'm going to rotate it along these nodes here. So, same way, we're going to duplicate, and this one we're going to rotate. So using this, now it should be easy because those go by 15-degree increments. So, and because we're doing 45-degree angles here around the circle, it's going to be easy to do. But if you had like a different kind of rotation that you wanted to do, you know, you would have to do that. So it wouldn't be as easy. You'd have to go by whatever lines you drew. Again, that's a little more complicated. We're doing it simple this time. So, but that's that. So now I'm gonna rotate the next one using this green node onto that line. This one onto this line. This one, oops, onto this line. This one onto that line. This one onto that line. Getting there. This one onto that line. Now because it started there, and it's gonna probably, well, it's not gonna loop because I have it on ping pong right now, but we can see how it looks different ways. But I didn't bring it all the way back because otherwise it would be stuck on there for 2 frames. So now when I play this, I'm gonna have to turn this off and this off temporarily. Now it's on ping pong, so it's gonna ping pong back. And in that case, you might want to add an extra one on the end there, because then it would ping pong all the way from the top. But if we wanted to do this as a loop, you can see it's just going to go around and around in a circle. Now the circle that I drew must have been a little irregular because it's kind of moving along a little bit there. It's not supposed to, but when I was moving it around, I probably made it a little bit not a circle. So I wasn't paying attention. That's why that happened. That's why you can see it kind of like get a little bit like it's bulging out in spots. But again, no big deal. We're not doing this as a serious project right now, so. But anyway, that's how that goes. You get the idea? But that's how you rotate or spin. So I'm going to turn off, I'm going to delete all these layers here. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. Now I'm actually going to, what am I doing? I'm going to fill this in, back in. All right, for this one, instead of using a background or foreground, I'm going to use just the guide on here. So I'm going to edit the drawing guide a little bit. I want to make it so I have, so this one is in its own square there. So I'm making it so the circle has its own kind of square of 16 squares here, 4 by 4. It's not exact though. I'm trying to make it exact. Just to make it easier, especially because we're working with a circle. Yeah, I can tell, like I said in the last one, that this wasn't quite a circle, like it's a little bit of an ellipse, because it's not showing up where it's exactly perfect on both the vertical and horizontal. So this is where it might mess up a little. Now, it's not a big deal, like I said. I'm just trying to show you an easy way of doing it. But, you know, it's not going to line up exactly perfect. Not a big deal. But anyway, so we're going to use this guide. Now, what I do when I want to do the next one, I'm making it bigger. I want to, oops, see, I'm doing the wrong thing already. I want to stretch this so it goes to the next round of squares. If you know what I mean. So get it so it's kind of lined up with, again, ideally it would be right on the point, but because this circle is kind of irregular, it's not. So I'm doing it so it's exactly on the vertical ones here, the vertical lines. So it's lined up with that one, and it's lined up with this one. So that's the next round there. Duplicate, I'm gonna do the same thing. Bring it to the next one so it's right on that vertical line, and then this one, so it's right on that vertical line. You just wanna do opposite corners because otherwise the center is gonna move around. And it's still gonna move around a little bit because it's not a perfect circle, but you know. Do we wanna do another? Let's do one more. See him grabbing the wrong thing. All right, so this is growing. I'm going to show you shrinking as well. But you can see that this is, I'm going to put this on ping pong just to show you a little better. All right, so then just to show shrinking the other way, it's not going to be as much because there's not enough room, but let me get rid of these, delete these. And now we're going to go kind of the opposite way. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to duplicate. All right. So now this one, I want to bring this down. See, that's shrinking quite a lot. Maybe I want to do halfway, even though I don't really have a measurement for that. But I'm estimating. You can see that line that comes up, that diagonal line, that helps a little. But keeping those nodes of your circle on, that helps too. Next, now I can bring it down to where it's vertical with the verticals. And then about halfway. And then this next one's gonna be real small. But this is how that would look. All right, those are the basic beginner actions that you can animate on Procreate. Obviously, there's way more you can do, and eventually we're gonna get more complicated on this channel. We are done with the beginner portion of the animation thing. We're done with the Procreate for Beginners animations. We are almost done with the whole series. The next video is coming up next, but I will talk more about that in sneak peeks. But then once I'm done with that video, that miscellaneous video, then we're gonna start doing some animations and then other projects as well in Procreate. And the animations I'm gonna do to start off with are dealing with the concepts I taught here. And then once I get done with those, we're gonna start doing other projects and occasionally other animations as well. So long term, that's what you have to look forward to. Sneak peeks will show you what's coming up soon. So stay tuned for those. And I'll see you next time. All right, everyone, that's it for this video, but heads up, I've still got some bonus footage and sneak peeks coming up shortly. First of all, though, I want to thank you, yes, you, for watching this video. I do really appreciate it. If you appreciate me back, the best way to show me is to use those buttons on YouTube. Subscribe is the best one, but the other ones work great too. Always check the video description for any updates, announcements, and any relevant links you may need. These are my official social media accounts and other channels for you to check out. Don't fall for any scams or imitations. All of these are linked in the description and also on my website, www.shrushdesign.com as well. Now here's that bonus footage I promised. All right, I don't have much for bonus footage in this video. Just wasn't much that happened, but I do have my time lapse from when I was making the video, which you're seeing right now. And I know that's not much in and of itself, but here it is. And now for sneak peeks. So coming up next, I'm actually going to switch gears slightly, just one more time, to do one more Procreate for Beginners video. It's the miscellaneous video I've been talking about. It's the one that I'm going to go through all the things in the menu, like the settings, the gallery, how to import things, how to export things, and all the general stuff that I didn't touch on very much or at all in my other videos. And then I will be done with the Procreate for Beginners series, at least for now, because I don't know if you heard this, but Procreate's apparently coming up with a big update. The announcement is coming out on September 8th, so there may be things that change drastically, and I might have to redo some of my videos or at least post an explanation to update. And there may be new things that I have to actually make a video for, so there'll probably be more that I'm adding onto it. I'm not sure when the actual update is coming out. I know that they're announcing it in September, so we'll see. But for now, I'm going to be done with my Procreate for Beginners series. And then after that is when we're going to start doing the animations projects, and then we're going to do other projects as well. But we're going to start out with some animations, and we're going to animate based on what I told you in this video. We're going to do those first. Just more practical concepts of what I taught you in this video, and more complete concept, and you can follow along. Again, if you sign up for my course companion, that's free. You'll be able to get project files to work with when I do the projects and stuff like that. And it'll be much easier than just trying to work on it alone, but you're certainly welcome to do that if you want. But anyway, that is what you have to look forward to. Those are coming up very soon, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.